Well, let's bring in Ibironke Adeagbo, a child rights advocate and founder of IA Foundation, a UK charity set up to reduce the number of out-of-school children in Nigeria. Good to see you. And well, congratulations are in order, but again, it brings us to the need for us to go back and address the situation. Out-of-school children and the numbers are actually tipping on the side of the girl child, not a favorable number. Speak to us on how much you think Nigeria and by extension Africa can ensure that this narrative is addressed.
Right, thanks for having me. Let's try and put this into context.
Good.
UNESCO says the number of out-of-school children in Nigeria is 20.2 million. So let's do the maths. So that's 10% of our population is on the streets roaming around without access to education. And this is the future of Nigeria, the future manpower of Nigeria. Now, how any government can sleep well at night with those kind of numbers, I seriously don't know. And that's why our foundation has come up to say, you know what, this is not right. We don't know if people are not listening, whether the government is not listening, but it's not right. We will try and do something about it, right? And that's how the foundation that's how we set up the foundation. And we've been going on the streets, picking up kids, right? And putting them in school, paying for their fees. Because we believe they are the future of the country, right? Because the implication of not educating these children is got far-reaching consequences, and we're already experiencing it now. The reason we have high level of insecurity now is because long ago, there were kids on the street, we paid no attention to them, they've grown up now, they have no skills to sell, so they've got to resort to crime. And that's why we have the high level. So if we don't want this level of insecurity, we need to pay attention to those children, make sure we pick them up, make sure they're in the school. They don't belong on the streets, they belong in the classroom. And the government needs to wake up to their responsibility, because this is part of the social contract between the citizens and the government. Why should we have 20.2 million children on the streets?
Very good question. And why should we have, based on the figures that we heard earlier, 6 million out-of-school girls in Nigeria. So what exactly would you say is the way forward, for the girl child's situation to improve, drastically in Nigeria? What needs to be done at different levels? Okay,
cool. So before we can say what the solution will be, let's understand the problem and the dimension. So there are three categories for the reason why we have a high number of out-of-school girls at the moment. So I put them in three categories: education, economic, and social-cultural, right? So education, Ubek just said to us a couple of weeks ago that if we need to school those 20.2 million, we need to build 20,000 more classrooms. So I'm saying to you now, if but peradventure, we decide to pick those 20.2 million, there are no classrooms for those children. So this is a failing of the educational system. Why don't we have enough classrooms? Did we not plan forward? Don't we have a census to tell us how many children we've got coming through the system? Therefore, build enough classrooms for them? So we are failing them in that respect. The infrastructure in the school. That's why we've got high level of insecurity in schools, kidnapping and things like that, because the infrastructure are not robust enough. Some schools don't have perimeter fencing, and that's why you see them as a soft target, why they go kidnapping them. Also, we need to also look at the quality of the teaching. Right? Yeah. The quality of the teachers is nothing to write home about. The good teachers are leaving the country in droves, and we are now left with the dregs. So what do you expect? Garbage in, garbage out. We then have girls that haven't got good quality education. Also, looking at it from the economic perspective, the reason why these girls are not in school are because of poverty. When you ask them, why aren't you in school? It's like, my parents are poor, they can't afford to put me through school. So therefore, their parents will rather use them as child labor to generate revenue for the family, right? And the third category is social-cultural, yeah? They believe girls, are best in the kitchen. That is where their strength lies. They are just domestic appendages. So we need to change that narratives. We've got the likes of Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala there. We are proud of her. So how do we do that?
I actually thought you were going to call me. That's fine.
And you as well. I'm so proud of you as well. Yeah. So I think we should make parents understand that, you know, educating the girl child is equally as good as educating the boy child. You understand? Because I grew up in a situation where my father was even thinking that, you know what, he would rather invest in the boys than invest in the girl when it was time for me to go to university. My mom had to put her foot down and say, no, they are all equal and we need to educate them equally. You understand? So in terms of something, I think we need to put some teeth to it, right? Because in the UK, where we've set up the foundation, if you don't send your child to school, the parents get penalized. You get penalized. In Nigeria, if parents don't send their kids to school, nobody is bothered. There's no consequence for if you don't send your child to school. Also, we need to look at birth control. If you can't afford to send a child to school, then don't give birth to that child. You can't give birth to a child and expect somebody else to take responsibility for that child. Go for the number of kids that you think you can afford to sponsor. Also, the government also...
Not even that you think you can sponsor.
And the last one, because we're out of time. We're out of time.
Yeah. Yeah, so but the more important thing is the government needs to put more budgetary allocation towards education, right? We need to put more money in. I mean, the current Minister of Education is saying nice things. They've said they're going to increase the budgetary allocation by 25%. We're looking forward to that, and we really applaud that. So more money should be pumped down into education.
Fantastic. Very, very well said. Ronke Adeagbo is a child rights advocate. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.